Hey, good evening, everybody. Glad to be back. Glad to see you all here. So quick shout outs. So, Contriver, you're first here. You win. I ran out of biscuits, so you win. I got some roasted peanuts. I was wondering where my guest was. He's here on time. Now, to my guest, just give me a moment to get the ball rolling, and I'll bring you on. So, Contriver, you win the roasted peanuts. JR, you're second. Ooh, you get silver prize, and Silver Bullet is here. Skeleton is here. Good to see you. GM is here, and Tico Tren, long time brother. Shout out to Tico Tren. Great to see him here. Hope you've been well. And Dak is here. Great to see you, sir. Glad you're here as well. Tico, you got to check out the video I did, the one about Go Bananas. Narcissist Go Bananas. You'll love it. Okay, so the title is something like, I don't even know. Me and my guest were like trying to decide different titles. What do we call this? Oh, why are people opposed to the change they say they want? All right, so I'm just going to do a little to my guest in backstage. Just give me a couple of minutes. I'm just going to do this little introduction, and I'll get you on. So this is how it started. This topic is, I was doing my observations, and I'm sure a lot of you kind of pick up on this as well, where we hear people talking about their problems and they got their suggestions and their desires, what it is they want, they would like to see in community spaces and with themselves. So they'll talk about things like they want peace, they don't want the chaos, they don't want the drama, they want to have some happiness, they want harmony, and they want some sort of healing of sorts, like things like we should all self-reflect, know thyself, love thyself, treat each other with compassion and respect, have empathy for one another. There's a lot of stuff like that, right? Yet, what do we see take place following that? It doesn't seem to happen. Why is that? And that's the sort of focus of this conversation. It's why do we say these things and seem, if anything, to work counterintuitively against it? You see a kind of contradiction? It's almost self-defeating. So I myself, I was thinking, I don't want to be a bit of a hypocrite here. So what kind of things have I recently said that I wanted to change, and whether or not have I actually done that? Or was I talking out of my backside? So one of the things I said around the new year was that I kind of phrased it as like I'm walking away from the community. Now, many of you might notice that in a way I haven't. So am I double talking here? Well, maybe I need to define what I meant or be more clear about what it was I wanted to change. So what I was seeing was the community morphing into kind of like mobster or gang-like culture, going to war, civil war, fighting, drama, crazy stuff, and like Chinese whispering in the background and all this sort of kerfuffle. And it was that kind of soap opera-ness, if I can say it like that, not to be too derogatory, that I wanted to clear my head from. And I made a point of saying, like, in a way, it was not I that was sort of metaphorically abandoning the community or forgetting what it was all about. It was the people getting carried away with these feuds and vendettas and smear campaigns and accusations and things like that. They were the ones I was suggesting that who were forgetting what things like MGTOW was meant to be about and what it was about to be part of a community. And it was that sort of mentality I was walking away from. So in a sense, I have achieved the change I was hoping for. I don't hear hardly and I do still hear about some of the stuff going on, but I'm not emotionally attached to it anymore. It's not my problem. So the stress of it, and the not to sound sort of like uncompassionate, but it's like I don't kind of care anymore what people are monkeying around with. Not well, what's the expression? Not my monkey, not my circus, or something like that, or whatever. Not my fight. And I've returned, trying to back to basically having my topic, my streams, and returning back to center. So in that sense, I think I have achieved the change I wanted, but I can understand that it might appear as though it's like, well, he's still part of the community. He's still talking to us here. So, I'm not going to hold that against anyone. And I can see how it might look like a double standard. But it did come at a cost. I've also, not only have I pulled away from the drama sphere or whatever, the craziness, which was basically involving other people anyway. So it wasn't really a personal thing. The personal incidents I've already addressed, such as the TNFS thing and the Manny Load thing. So I'm kind of cleaning my slate here. But the collateral damage was that by walking away, innocent parties I had to step away from as well. So it was nothing personal to those channels, and I'll give them a shout out in a second. And for all intents, but they weren't really having drama on their channels. But in terms of the principle of the matter of for me, for my own mental well-being, of stepping away from environments where it can sort of like bleed into or are connected, or I think connected like a bridgeway. It had for me, I did it for my well-being. Now maybe I might return and say hi from time to time, but it's very unfortunate. So a quick shout out to those channels such as Gone with John and Rebel Against Defeat, and even Hammerhand. So if those sort of people and other channels that I may have visited in the past, there's another channel which Falcon Black has nothing to do with the craziness going on. It's almost like a separate community altogether. But anyway, you get the idea. So I hope they're all doing well. And in case they were wondering, like maybe they might have thought, have they upset me or something like that? No, not at all. Really, I owe them the apology for essentially kind of like ghosting them in a way. Okay, so thank you to my guest for being very patient. We were having two different viewpoints, so I think it'll be a good conversation to have. So please welcome onto the show. We have, imagine some trumpets and some fireworks, but warm welcome, please, everyone, to Bandit. Hope you're ready there, mate. Here he is. Bandit, you're on.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Happy, I guess, 420 if you guys partake. I don't, but happy to the people that do.
Thank you
How's
very
everybody
much.
doing today?
Well, me personally, I'm all right. I hope everyone else is all right. And thank you for being patient backstage there.
Oh, good. No, it's your show.
Great.
So, I guess the way I'm looking at this, the way I've been thinking about this for the couple days that we've been talking about it is, let's look at the 50,000 foot level and then go into specifics as we, go down from here. What is change? And why change is good and why change is bad. Okay. So to me, most of the problem with why people either get in a rut or don't want to change or just want to be what they are is there's a couple of things. You're either complacent in where you're at in your life, where you don't want to take any kind of risks, and basically risk is growth. So if you're not willing to risk something and you're not willing to grow, you're going to be stagnant. And at that point, people are going to get out of your life. So you have to embrace change. You have to embrace what change is going to be caused, because how are you going to supposed to grow as a person if we're going to just be the same person we are in high school, for example, and now you're in your 50s, for example? Like if you're that person that peaks in high school, I feel sorry for you.
Right, yeah. So already off to a fantastic start here. We've got loads of directions we can go with this change, and the fear of change, the anticipation or hesitation towards change.
Correct.
And
Yes.
if other people are changing around you, that adds an additional sort of I suppose a tendency, if you're not careful, of like fear, because everyone's abandoning you. Your perception is that they're all growing and leaving the nest, and now you're forced to have to be brave and do the same thing, but you don't have much confidence in yourself, or you don't have the same kind of support network or structure around you, maybe self-doubt and things like that, or you simply don't have the wherewithal, the abilities or skill levels. Maybe it's a financial thing, so you feel left behind. And
And that you bring up a good point here. The thing is, there is no non-stress version for change. If you don't make the change, you're going to be left behind and you're going to feel stressed. If you make the change, there's going to be stress as well. The thing is, it's the more you prolong stress, the worse it's going to get for you. If you look back at people that, and I recommend this to anybody, I always preach this, but look up channels for hospice nurses and see what people actually regret on their deathbed. Most of it,
regret. Yeah. Sorry, did I just cut you off? Bandit, you there? We can't hear you. Uh-oh. Technical issues, everybody. Sorry. Bandit, I hope you can hear us.
Really fix things in the future and not live in a life of regret. You have to take advantage of any opportunity that's given in front of you.
Yes.
And that's going to require change.
And I think that's a very important lesson as well, with regret, because I think a lot of people fear the idea of failure or making a mistake. And we should work on this idea, because it's okay to make mistakes, as long as you're sort of progressing, even if it's might not seem like you're actually going in a particular direction. At least you're not being stagnant, which is what we were talking about earlier, moments ago, how being stagnant, and eventually in terms of psychology, this would be like emotionally stunted or arrested development. So I think as well, as a kind of juxtaposition to this hesitation to want to change, is if not careful, people might dig or double down into not wanting to change because they're more comfortable and familiar with what they already know. So there's that reluctancy where they feel, well, if I can't change, or I don't feel like I can make positive change, and I can't trust myself, so I presume I'm going to make mistakes and make things worse, then in a kind of logical sort of way, they try to rationalize it as in like, well, then I'll just keep this ecosystem the way it is. I'll keep things the same and I won't change.
Yes. And the other thing you have to think about with change is you have to recognize where you are in your, I'll just use a metaphor of a friend group. Okay. So you have the people that don't want to change. They're in, we'll call them tier 1. Tier 2 is the people that want to change. And tier 3 are the people that you want to become. Okay. So if you're in tier 1, you're going to find out in life that most of your friends are going to leave you behind, and you're not, and the friends that you made in high school or the friends that you know are going to leave you behind, and you're going to have a life full of regret, and you're going to be stunted. People that are in tier 2, those are the people you want to be. Okay. The people that are embracing change and they see a direction. Okay. These are the people that are the most fulfilled, because if you know what you want to be in your life, but you haven't been there yet, you have the ability to do 2 things. You can grab hold of the tier 3 people and they'll help you guide you to be the person you want to be, and you can bring up the tier 1 people. Now the thing is, when you hit tier 3, it basically, what happens is you go back to 1. Okay, so once you hit tier 3, now you're back to settling again, because you're not growing, because you're at where you wanted to be. It's a constant loop.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like the circle of life almost.
Yes. And the thing is, there's pitfalls and there's problems at each stage. You have to have the self-regulation and the self-choice to figure out, okay, do I want to make change? Okay, what in my aspect of my life do I do not like? Am I not making money? Am I not being assertive enough? Am I taking on too much risk? You need to be, the self-reflection phase is where people tend to forget. Okay, you need to figure out at all times, where am I at? Where do I want to grow into? If you take a nerd response to this, would be, think about like a role play. Like, you have certain abilities and you want to add an extra point or an extra pip into something. Okay, I need to take the skills to get to that point. All right, otherwise I'm just going to be who I am. I'm never going to change. And that's the problem here. Most people don't have the self-regulation to want change. So when change does happen, that's forced on you, people panic.
Yes.
And the thing is,
go ahead.
How you address the panic is, most of the time, panic is failure to plan. It is, in general, anytime that someone does not plan on something, panic happens. Anytime you hear, I didn't expect this to happen, oh my God, I don't know what to do, most of it is planning. Either life throws you a curveball, which happens all the time, and that's fine. But you also have to understand that there is some accountability here. And that's what people fear. It's the accountability of, I could have planned this out, instead of having the self-reflection and saying, okay, something happened in my life. I had no control over it. That's fine. But I never want this feeling to ever happen again. So how do I avoid this? There's some portion of change that you can avoid, and there's a part that you can't. The people that want to control, if you have the personality that you want to control everything in your life, you're going to be in chaos the whole entire life, because you can't. Life is like a bucking bull that you cannot control.
I've got a great personal sort of story I could tie into what you're saying here. But,
go ahead.
Well, I don't know. It's like, I was keeping it under wraps for a long time. I was like, you just reminded me so much.
It's up to you. But I'm not going to force it.
But I wanted to throw a bit of a spanner into what you're describing here, just to be a pain in your backside. So what you're saying is, it's kind of like this. This is that your cat or something?
That is my dog. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is under sort of normal circumstances, and it's kind of like a child would be tier 1, as these tiers you were describing. Like the child would be kind of like tier 1, and your adult life would be sort of tier 2, and by the time you're elderly, you'll be in your sort of tier 3. And we know how elderly are kind of rigid and sort of set in their ways.
That's
and they kind of circle back around to being childlike again in their old age.
Yes.
So,
how ironic, right?
So this is kind of like, so what you're describing is sort of normal, what you might expect to see with general development of people as they shift from one tier to another tier throughout life. However, if we kind of return back to the title of the topic, so we're dealing mostly with people who aren't able to transition into tier 2. They're stuck in tier 1.
Okay.
And they're talking about the desire of wanting change. It's almost like, do they really mean it? So why are they doing that? We'll address that kind of that language they adopt in a moment. But because I think for normal, healthy individuals, they won't really need to hear what we're saying about normal progression of wanting change, because they would know for themselves already what they need to do.
Well, everybody needs to hear it because a lot of people, they miss the opportunity of the feedback loop. And just to reiterate, a feedback loop is actually, it's personal growth. So when you look at any decision that you make, okay, positive or negative, no one does the self-reflection of saying, okay, you know, I'm going to use the, the allegory of buying a car, because most people don't, little decisions no one really cares about because they don't they don't cost the value, they don't have the value of going into looking at this for little stuff. But if you think about buying a vehicle, okay, and you go, okay, yeah, I'm making okay money, but do I really want to get a Ferrari? Like, okay, it's going to set me back, $200,000. I gotta have to sell some investments. I'm gonna do all this freaking work, and then I'm gonna have to finance it. It's gonna cost me by the time I'm done $500,000. Blah blah blah. And then you go, okay, I can do that, or I can buy another Honda Accord. Now, if I buy the Honda Accord, I can go on vacations now. I can do what I want. I don't have another payment. I can buy that out in cash. And then you go, okay, if I want to take the risky and I want to do the status symbol, I'll get the Ferrari. But if I want to actually live my life that I want to live, maybe I'll get the Honda Accord. Now, most people will just say, okay, I'm going to buy the Honda Accord and never think about why they made that decision. And the thing is, the feedback loop is actually going to give you the thought process. It's going to tell you, are you a risk averse person? It's going to give you the values and the principles and all the stuff that you stand for. And the thing is, when you find out what you stand for, you can already start making better decisions for your life. Because if you're a risk averse person, buying a car is already stressful enough for you because you're already risk averse. So knowing that you're risk averse, you're never going to get the Ferrari. You're going to take the safe choice, which is fine. That's everybody's own. But also, okay, now I know I'm a risk averse person. Maybe for me to grow, I might need to take a little bit more risk on certain things. Maybe instead of getting a Honda Accord, maybe I'll compromise and want to get a Beamer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, looking at decision making, you have to look at it as you need to find out what you actually stand for, and this self-reflection is what makes you grow. It's not the decision. It's the feedback loop that makes you grow. It's not the decision.
Great. So we started off talking about this idea of wanting change. Now we're moving into this process of decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you brought up this risk aversion and self-reflection, because I think what it also does when you self-reflect, it makes you more aware of how reliable you are, how much you can trust yourself. And if you are risk adverse, you might be able to connect the dots in and realize that, damn it, I can't trust myself, and that is why I play it safe in order to not be my own worst enemy here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other problem. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So if you want to be making better decisions, what we could kind of deduce is, if you can be more reliable to yourself, more accountable, more responsible, have better things at your disposal, and make yourself more secure, then you'll be more willing to take those risks to then make better changes, or at least give it a go, to make those changes that perhaps you desire but are scared about.
Yes, and
doing.
the opposite does apply too, because the scary thing is the people that take way too many risks, and they need to be self-reflecting, and they need to say, okay, I need to stop taking risks. So you got to know what you are, and the only way you're going to know who you are is you need to have like either an accountability person or a close friend that knows you better than you know yourself, and be honest with them. Have these conversations. Be like, I feel stale in my life. What am I supposed to do? And then they're going to say, okay, you're taking a way too risk. That's why you're stale. It's because you have all your money tied up in stupid shit. Or, hey, you're not taking a risk. And the reason why you feel stale is you have no excitement in your life. So like you really need that person in your life to tell you, hey, you need that you're completely honest with.
Yeah.
It could be a significant partner. It could be family member, it could be your best friend, but you need that accountability person.
And with all of that is that good old word balance, isn't it? Because like you're saying, if you're always changing and taking risks, you end up becoming like neither here nor there. So you don't really, it's like spinning your wheels. You don't, you're trying to get traction and make changes, but there you are just burning rubber.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
thing is, they'll gut like strength. Making changes in your life takes strength and courage. And I don't think people actually talk about it. Like, especially when it's, especially like the people that will just say live a solitary life. Like, that takes courage on yourself, and it takes guts to make those decisions. It's not, change is not easy.
No, it's
And
yeah.
the thing is, change also tells a lot of things about your character. It tells you, who can I trust? Who's in my court, who's not in my court? What decisions am I making? Am I making risky decisions? Am I making good decisions? Am I around the people that I want to be with the rest of my life? Like, did my friends change and I don't like the way they're becoming? Maybe I have to think about you know, the sucking cost fallacy. Like, just because you've been around your friends your whole entire life doesn't mean that they're in the right spot in this part of your life. You can't expect people to not change. And the thing is, you can't force change on other people. You can show them the path. This is the big crux of the whole thing. You cannot show people. You can show people the path, but they can't make it. Only the person that wants to change can change. You can't force that upon someone else, and you can't tell them. You can't tell them or force them to make change, because they're gonna resent you for it.
Yeah. So here's a sort of another like things for us to quickly cover over. How much do you think anxiety, this the fear of, or maybe it's a a desire of not wanting to be disappointed with expectations. So they want change, but they have a lack of confidence, and when they kind of uh, forecast into the future what this change looks like, they see it as something they're going to fail at. So it's like, well, why should I even bother try? I don't want to
Well,
be disappointed with my own expectations.
failure. People need to embrace failure. It's better to fail more often than to succeed, and I'll explain why. Failure is where you get your character tested. That's where you figure out who you are as a man or as a woman. Okay, if you live life on easy mode, you're going to have a life full of regrets, because there's going to be plenty of opportunities that you wish you did but you never took. Now, on the flip side, if you are taking way too much risk, you need to calm it down too, because taking too much risk is going to get yourself killed or worse. Okay.
Yeah,
But
but for the
so,
person who fears but what if you got a person who they feel that they're just constantly failing, so and they become, it's almost like that risk aversion, but as a means of survival, they kind of make an oath or a vow to themselves. It's like, well, if I never bought, it's almost, oh, I've said this before actually, where it's like life itself is kind of scary, so they decide psychologically, like, well, then to protect myself from the hurt or failure, I will deny myself from living.
well, that becomes, you make goals that are way too. This is where it comes before. I was talking about decisions. You're making goals way too big for you to handle. Okay, so you're saying, like, you're having goals like mentally. I'm not saying they are this, but you're in the comparison. You're like, okay, I need to cure world hunger. So
Yeah,
these lofty goals that you have, you can never reach, and then you're disappointed. So
right.
if you're in that kind of role, you need to have minor goals, like
Yeah,
micro
yeah,
goals.
yeah.
You need to
Good,
have
good.
goals like, okay, I need to
Realistic
get up.
goal.
Yeah, I need to get up tomorrow morning and make my bed. Or I need to
Yeah.
wake up tomorrow morning, and instead of having a freaking bowl of cereal, I need to make myself some eggs because I'm
Okay, so
overweight. And you need to set and we can talk about this. I If you're going to take anything away from this conversation, I want everybody to understand this one thing. It's called SMART.
Oh, yeah.
SMART. SMART goals, which stands for, this is how you make goals. With if
Yeah.
you if you live in life and make smart goals, you're never going to be disappointed, and you're actually going to hit your target goals. And SMART stands for specific, measurable,
Mhm.
attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. If you make goals that have those five things, you're guaranteed to make positive change. Okay?
Yes. So this is good advice because it's breaking down the problem. So the problem is decision making.
Yes.
This is breaking down how to go about making better decisions by evaluating the state through stages and steps. And I think also in a kind of like tangent advice tip takeaway here, what you're also suggesting is that yes, lofty, unrealistic, idolized, fantasy goals are just way out of reach. So bring it down to earth, be a bit more realistic, and in that way, it's incremental, small, like work on the changes that you can achieve and do that you can measure and time under time restraints and things like that,
Mhm.
and be realistic and make these small steps towards a bigger change.
Yes. And the thing is, micro changes become macro changes over time.
Yes.
It's not a You don't want to have giant pendulums shifting in your life. You don't want to go from, like, to use a metaphor, you don't want to go from being carnivore to vegan to carnivore to vegan and do all these dramatic changes in your life. Your stomach's gonna hate you for it, and you're gonna get sick. But if you
Yes.
decide, okay, instead of, if I'm having too many fats, maybe I need to start eating a salad once in a while and start
Great.
having a more balanced
Yes.
diet and slowly incrementing yourself to being more
It's
balanced, you're gonna
yes.
actually maintain a better way of making changes. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, you don't expect to lose 6 pounds every freaking week. You expect,
Well,
okay,
in
I'm going
some
to start with
cases,
losing a couple pounds, and then I can use that
yes.
as a confidence builder.
Yes. So, and humans are great at adapting and acclimatizing. So gradual change is better than instantaneous um shift in whatever. Because I'm pretty sure this is true. Someone double check this for me, please. But like for alcoholics, if they went cold turkey, it can kill them.
Correct. Yes.
You know. So so if we have big change, even if you were able to achieve it, it could be such a shock to your system that it could mess you up. So this is why I think going back to this gradual change and making it systematic as a logical, like as a thought exercise, in itself helps prepare you for the changes that are about to take place.
Well, it's also people also have to realize it's also a commutative level. It's like a dopamine hit. If you have these lofty goals and you get that goal right away, you haven't gotten the incremental boosts for every change that you made. So, for example, if you were born and on average, I think it takes, we'll just say, 2,000 hours to master something. Okay, so imagine
Yeah.
if you were born in life and your dream was to be an amazing public speaker. Okay, I know it's a scare. I only bring that up because most people think of public speaking as the scariest thing you could possibly do. But if you were born right off the bat, 3 years old, and you had master level of communicate, you can be persuasive, you can be the best communicator ever. Okay, you haven't you haven't really learned anything, and you haven't had the experience and the joys of being successful, failing, and then once everybody has that targeted goal, you it feels empty because you haven't
Great.
had the strife of falling on your face a couple of
Yeah.
times in the growth phase. So
So
it's better to have smaller goals and grow
yes.
it that way, so you can actually enjoy the dopamine hits. Like,
Yes.
if you have
And
these giant goals, you're never going to have these dopamine hits. You're going to, especially if you're that kind of person that life gave you basically everything. Why do you think those people are always, like,
Right.
say the sons and daughters of rich kids always seem to be giant drug addicts because they never had the ability to fail and they never had the ability to grow, so they have no substance in their life.
And I
That's
think that
tragic.
also, and I think that also opens you up for a pitfall later on in life, because if you're working towards a bigger goal gradually,
Mhm.
it's delayed gratification. You're working for it, so you have a better appreciation, and you know what work went into it to get to where you are now. And that in itself is a valuable lesson, because what if your goal, the change that you're proclaiming you want, isn't quite as you imagined it was in the beginning? It's slightly different. Um, Now, for someone who has it spoon fed, like on a silver spoon, and they have a more instant gratification, they're much more uh, entitled and demanding that their vision must be exactly how they imagined it. And
Yes.
so if they're fortunate and it does, let's say they wanted to win the money or the lottery jackpot, and let's say by chance they actually did do that as an instant win, they don't have the appreciation to know what kind of work would normally go into earning that kind of level of money. But it would mean that the money that the goal they achieved, the money they won, they run the risk of losing it very easily, because they haven't learned any responsibility in attaining that.
Yes, and you're also, the key thing is you're robbing yourself of happiness is what you're doing, because it it comes down to, people need you know the tug and pull of life. You need the success and the failures. You can't live in life in just on easy mode. Okay,
It's,
people
it's not so it's not so much
people
the
get really
destination.
pissy on people. Like, what do you hear on people? Oh, that person's been given everything in their life. They don't ever earned anything, and then
Right.
what happens is you build resentment and all this other crap. Okay,
Yeah.
now, do we have to temper all this with the seven deadly sins of envy, lust, and all that stuff? Yes, but this explains the reason why. And the the other thing with change that we might want to go into is, if you plan on making these changes, like, there is no problem asking for advice for making changes, but you also have to realize, what is this change going to do to me? Is it going to change what do I fully stand for? What are my principles are? Am I going to become the person that I despise?
Right.
And no
Great.
one talks about those aspects too. So, like, change is amoral. It's good and bad at the same
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
The thing
Great.
is,
Great.
what a change for me that's good might be an awful change for you, because we might have
Right.
a completely different value set, and
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
okay, until, to a certain degree. There is universal truths that we all need to talk about. Like if I'm not saying this to get your channel nuked, but I'm just saying, if I plan on doing something bad to someone else, that is not a good change. Okay, society should punish me for making bad decisions. Okay, however, if we make good changes in our life, cumulative of all those positive changes are going to give us more opportunities. So if you look at change as a way of improving oneself, also giving yourself more opportunities to make more changes, it's like a snowball effect. You can't you If you're making positive changes in your life, you're going to get more better opportunities, and those better opportunities are going to get more change. Now, if you miss that train, then you feel stagnant, because then it's like, oh my god, life left me behind. So, like, you also have to realize you shouldn't be putting yourself out there all the time. You should give yourself a buffer room, have an
yeah.
extra, have an emergency fund, have all these other availability things. So if an opportunity does happen, you can take advantage of it. And that's mostly where regret comes down to, is I made a previous decision that's biting me in the ass. And now that this golden opportunity happens, and there's not many golden opportunities that happen in people's lives. Most of the time you can count on one hand golden opportunities.
So,
If you
oh,
don't, if you miss those golden opportunities, you're done. You're never
yeah.
gonna. You're gonna. You can't go back. It's not like we have a time machine and we can go back and change it. Life is all
Bandit.
about taking advantage of those golden opportunities that happen in your life, and you only get like 5 or 6 your whole entire life. So make sure you have the ability to take advantage of those because they're
This is
life changing.
I just want to quickly say it's great talk. You're getting my brain firing in so many ideas here. So I hope everyone is paying close attention to what's being said, because I think this is dynamite stuff. Um, so you're sparking my thinking process here. And what was I going to say? Damn, I lost. So in the process of change,
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, it's not really about the proclaimed goal as such, the destination. It's the journey. The journey of life is more important, and that
Yes, 100%.
is character building. And as you're saying, is by building your character, that is giving you the ability to have more opportunities, because you're becoming more rounded, more fulfilled, more complete as a person.
Well,
And
it's also what your core being is. The
yes,
and I I will always stress this. The more you're on service to yourself and to others, the happier you're going to be as a person. If
yes,
you live in life as a self-centered, life owes me everything, F everybody else, you're going to be living a miserable life. If you go in and look at it as like, if you honestly look in yourself in the mirror or speak to your boss and go, how can I serve you better? Or how can I be a better person today than yesterday, and set these micro goals for yourself? One, you'll never feel content because you'll always want to move. Two, you're going to embrace change. And three, it's infectious. A person that wants to improve their life in a positive way is infectious to everybody else.
yeah.
You're gonna look at people are gonna come up to you and like, that guy's got some glow to him. That guy's got, he's gonna
They're
be doing things in
inspirational.
life.
Yes, yes.
He's going to inspire other people. He's
There we
gonna
go.
be,
Yeah,
and the other thing is he's gonna be the living light of what he stands for. He or she, I
and,
should say. So
and
if you have firm beliefs, if you're I'm not going to go the religious route, but if you are a very religious person, or you're a very um you have certain values that you want to talk about that mean very very much, and you want to try to convert people, you want to evangelize your viewpoints, the best way of doing that is by your actions, which are in a sense choices. So
yes, and
if you make shitty decisions, and you're known to make these shitty decisions, no one's going to follow you. But
you
if you're got a positive light from other people, like you go in and you decide to like do Habitat for Humanity, be a linchpin in the community, and you stand for something, you're gonna develop natural leadership abilities, and people are going to follow you. It's just that's the
it's
crux of it.
it's that kind of aura and glow about you. And you mentioned it. You said a word like the emptiness of someone who kind of shortcuts it and is entitled and doesn't know the efforts and the struggles that went into making the sacrifices to make those changes, and the bravery and other aspects you mentioned. So sometimes I'll mention like an empty crown version, and so that kind of comparison of making a change, because someone who's won the jackpot, who got it easy, they made a big huge change, they blew up on something like this, and there wasn't really merit behind it, or sacrifice behind it. Not only is it kind of empty and shallow, and again it's sort of thin, but quite often, as you also touched on, is like maybe they become a bit kind of snobbish and arrogant and haughty, because they're full of themselves. They're big. They're too big for their britches, sort of thing. They haven't. They're not humbled in any way. Whereas someone who's actually built it from the ground up incrementally, and has taken those risks, has really put themselves on the line here. They become much more inspirational. I don't know, it's got that aura, and they got that sort of substance behind them. Their words aren't empty.
Well, it's actions speak louder than words, and the other thing is, like, change is good and bad at the same time. If you're making the bad decisions in your life, everybody's going to abandon ship. Like if you start going and start doing hard drugs and decide to go down a dark path, people are going to abandon ship because they're not going to want to change their life. Because
not
in
exactly
a sense,
a good role model, eh?
you are, and this is the thing. Another thing, if you're going to take anything out of this, you as an individual are the sum parts of the 10 people, the 10 closest people that you hang out with. Now you can't fix your family. I understand that. Some people's families are great. Some people's families are not so great. Okay. I won't talk into family stuff because you can't change family. However, you can change your friend group. Your friends and the people that you associate your time with, you can make better friends. You can make so those decisions and those people that hold you back, or those people that are preventing you to make changes that you know that need to be done, or those people that are causing you to be the person that you don't want to be, you need to cut those people out of your life now, because you're never going to be able to take the changes that you want to take unless you go over and do those little things that will make the bigger changes possible.
Okay, so we're kind of up till now we've been talking more on the sort of individual for that person themselves, but we're sort of talking about external factors here, like your friends and associates who might not be good role models or influences. They might shame you, for example, or guilt you, as well as the more positive that can actually help and inspire you and support you. I wanted a few quick shout outs again, because some people have come in, and then I'll quickly add this other point in. So if I miss your name, sorry, I don't mean to, but who came in here? I see Freebird, Shane, Better Biatches, D-Man, and anyone else watching. It's great to see you all here. So I was going to throw this quick point in here. It's kind of like, it's like it or lump it. Even if you don't want to change, you will change, because what you'll end up becoming is resentful. It's sort of, you're going the opposite direction. You'll become more bitter and sour and just depressed and just a nasty piece of work. So you will change. It's kind of impossible, because to be stagnant in a way is it will kill you.
Yes, but there's a couple of things that you need to also think about, and there's some things I would be stagnant on. Okay, so if we're gonna have the whole principle values discussion, if something is to your core value or what you stand for, you shouldn't change that, and you should be very, very apprehensive on changing things that are your core beliefs, because most of the time, if they are in a sense love and respect, you'll make those decisions on your own. But a person that is forcing you to change something that you stand for, you should always question them, because what most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be detrimental to your life. You're gonna turn into someone that you don't want to be. You're gonna end up being a follower, or you're gonna resent this person. So just because there's change, you shouldn't just change because of change. There should be real reasons for you to evaluate change. And the reason why I bring this up is, like, this is how we get into this horrible, like, political crap that we're in today. People are just changing because they feel like they're changing, but they don't understand what they're changing into. And then you end up finding out that they're making these horrible decisions that are going to affect the rest of their life, like chemical castration. Okay. I'm being very, very extreme on this to prove a point. If you do chemical castration, you can't go back. If you wanted kids later on in life, you're done, and that decision that you make is life altering. You're never going to be able to have kids at that point. So
do you think this
if you're
plays
falling
a part in it? Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry to jump in, because do you think this is do you think something that trips people up when they think about change, they kind of assume that change must be something radical, like medical castration?
Well, anybody that wants to do radical change normally does not have your best interest at heart. Okay, unless it's coming from a place of love and respect. And what I mean by that is if you know deep down that you're making a bad decision, say you're addicted to heroin, okay? You're stealing money, you're doing whatever it freaking takes to make money because you're after that next high. You're making bad decisions and okay? You're making and for that to change, you're going to need someone that really loves you. You're either going to either hit rock bottom, aka go to jail or OD or something crazy, or someone in your life's going to have to really kick your ass in a sense and
No, but
basically have that giant talk that you're making really shady decisions in your life right now. And I need for the betterment. I'm okay with sacrificing this relationship now in
yeah,
order
but
for you to make the
um,
changes that you need to make. That person
but
is coming at a sense of love. They're not coming at a sense that they hate you. So
right. I mean, it's kind of getting to a extreme sort of disturbance in lives where these big changes take place. But if we take it a couple of steps back from there,
okay.
do you think that, or what do you think about that? Let's say you've got an individual,
Hmm.
they're discontent with life.
Okay.
They've got an urge. They want some sort of change, but they don't quite seem to understand or recognize that just a little change would probably make a big difference. So, in their perception, they think I have to shake things up big time. I have to go for drastic, extreme changes. And this is where they become susceptible and vulnerable to people like maybe heroin pushers or whatever, uh,
Yes, because
taking that
their
because
problem,
they want big change.
their problem, their problem is feeling of acceptance. So, in their eyes, the only way person A is going to accept person B is if I make a dramatic change. And this is where you failed as an individual in my eyes, as you didn't have your purpose. You didn't know what you stood for, so you were
Mm,
easily molded. Now,
yeah.
is it wrong for someone to corrupt somebody? Absolutely. Okay, so if I'm an adult and I went to a kid and said they love lollipops, and I go to that kid and say, that lollipop's going to cause you cancer, you're going to get a tummy ache, it's going to rot your teeth out and all this stuff, and that kid, and you basically stole that kid's love for lollipops away, you're freaking evil. Okay, it's the same argument here. If you're taking a person that's easily moldable and corrupting them to your wishes, you're basically a giant user. And like I said before, if anybody's coming at it to make changes on someone else, they have to make that choice. You can't force change on someone. They're going to have to do changes themselves.
Well,
However, if it's okay to sacrifice a relationship if that relationship is going to cost you your purpose, your dreams, and they're going into a path that you can't go down to. If the person's going to start jumping off of buildings without parachutes and taking all these insane risks, you're going to have that conversation with them. I will go to this point, and once you cross this point, I can't support you anymore. Now, I can't tell you no. You're an adult at this point. However, if you keep going down this path, I can't support it. I can't support you anymore. I love you, I respect you, but I can't go down this path anymore. And that's where the courage is what I'm talking about. You need to before you do anything. That's why I keep telling people to do this feedback loop, understanding what you stand for, because right now we're in a principle crisis right now. No one knows what they stand for. And the problem is if you don't know what you stand for, you're easily corruptible. I'm not a user of people, but I understand the fact that if I knew what you stand for and you don't stand for anything, you're easily corrupted. And
I think it's
then
a
you're
double-edged sword there because not only are they susceptible to being corrupted by others, but they themselves try to corrupt other people.
well, the thing, yes, agreed. But the thing is, once again, what does it come down to? It comes down to the person's lack of character which means that they've never been tested, and 2, they don't know what they freaking stand for.
Right.
This is why
Right.
self-reflection is not. I don't even know why no one teaches self-reflection anymore, because it's beyond important. You
Well,
don't
it's
know
the,
what the person is now. Because if someone tells me I want to be X in their, like, because okay, I do finances. This is why this is kind of personal for me. If someone went up to me and said, I have a goal, I want to make $1 million. Okay, I have a target now. I know what I have to do. If you go, I want to be wealthy, that's not a goal. I can't give you the changes that you need in your life
yeah,
to
'cause it's
get
like
that target.
define
Because
what wealthy
define what
means
wealth
to
is.
you.
Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to me, some poor people are wealthier than rich people, because they
Sure.
have the family, they have the self-respect in the community. They might not have millions of dollars, but when they die, they're going to have 60,000 people, or they'll
Right.
have the whole community at their funeral. That's
But
more wealth. That's more
yeah,
wealth to me than having dollar signs in my bank account. So
and that goes with what you're saying with smart as well. It's kind of like
yes,
being clear. So by defining your goals clearly and making them realistic, in turn, you also define yourself.
yes,
So this
and
is the danger of someone who is not an actualized person, who has not really individuated.
well, to me, self-actualization is really simple. And I don't understand more people why they don't treat this. All self-actualization is knowing who you freaking are. There's no book. I can't go read a book and say I'm self-actualized. Self-actualization is knowing oneself. And the only way you can do that is, in a sense, the easiest way to do it is review all the major decisions you ever made in your life and come down to a solution, or to a rhyme or reason why you made those decisions. So if I'm self-actualized, I know, okay, my principles are X, Y, and Z. And how do I know what my principles are? Easy. I evaluate my decisions in the past, and what I value is my decisions, because all a decision is what you value over something else. It's an opportunity cost. So if I go in, and I always prefer, you know, and this is great for doing bad decisions all the time. Okay, so say I make hasty decisions. I keep making stupid hasty decisions all the time. I don't think. I keep doing the stupid shit, and it's pissing me off. And I do this all the time. Then I can go, okay, I make hasty decisions. Now I got to figure out, why am I making that hasty decision? Is it do I have a problem with FOMO, which is fear of missing out? Do I have a problem with taking a step back and feeling like I'm anxious? So if someone says do something, I just got to do it. I'm almost like to the point where I'm manic. I got to make a decision. So if I know that about myself, maybe I got to go, okay, before I make any big decision, I need to go for a walk. And if someone keeps
Yeah.
pushing me on making a decision, I need to tell them the answer is no. You're not going to persuade me. I need to think about this. That's
So
self-actualization right there. And it's all comes
right.
down to the feedback loop. It comes down to evaluating your previous decisions. It's not hard to be self-actualized. And this is the point. Like, everybody, it seems, I don't care, the manosphere, whatever. No one talks. Everybody's like, self-actualization is hard. It's a personal development. You can only do it
I
yourself,
think
which is
yeah,
true. But no one tells you how to do it. I'm telling you how to do it.
I
It's
think a lot of
evaluating
people.
decisions that you make. That's all it is.
Well, I think in conjunction with that, though, is because it's kind of like in the realm of self-reflection as well, like looking within to understand what kind of gears you have, how they intermesh, and what kind of mechanisms you've got in place. Like you're saying, maybe you got trauma there, or maybe you got emotional dysregulation, maybe you got insecurities, maybe whatever, anxieties and stuff, neuroticism, etc. And so this is so in becoming actualized, you have to become responsible and accountable of yourself. You have to have self-aware. You have to be able to step out of yourself and have the awareness to look down at what it is you are and how you function. And almost it's like it's in the realm of also like self-parenting in a way as well, because you'll start to notice some of your quirks. And
But
yes, it might be a revelation, and you might be like, now I know why I keep doing this to people. But it's like, okay, that's one thing. What are you going to do about it? Now you got to do something. So decision time. Now you've got to make change.
think about it as a test. Okay. if you were graded a test and the test was succeed or failure, okay, they didn't cross out the answers that you got wrong. They just said you succeeded or you failed. Did I learn anything? Absolutely not. But if I got a test and every single thing that I got wrong, I got a paragraph answer. Okay, it's a you should have went here, should have went there. This were the reason of why you made a mistake. This is the flaw in your logic. If you would have went this route, you would assume these different things, and then that would have gotten you to the right answer. Now, if you
Yeah.
took that test again, you're going to get a freaking 100 because you understood what you did wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is, it all comes down to realizing what your flaws are. And the thing is, the first person that it's basically self-admission. The first person to admit they have a problem can make a change.
Well,
And if it
the
takes you
argument
to go
is
to a
that's already making it. That's already a step in making a change, isn't it? You
yes,
know,
but I'm just
that is
saying
an important
it's the
step as well.
it's the courage of knowing that you have a flaw and you need to change it.
Great.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that's the courage that needs to be the spark that inspires everybody. It's not, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to be, oh, you're successful. Okay. You can't teach success.
So
Okay.
in a way,
All success is to be honest with you, success is following your principles in court and living a life that you deem as legitimate. If you stay to your core values, that's a life to success. Now, some
so
people might say it as metrics of viewing success might be through money, through all these other metrics, but that's not true success. True success is what you value, you becoming the person that you value. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, damn, I did something good today. And if I keep doing this, I'm going to be on track. Now, can I be piss ass poor? Can I be, can I have a bucket to my name and that's it? Yeah. But if you look in the mirror and say, you know what, I did better today than I did yesterday, and I helped out these people, I might not have the money and the richnesses of everybody else, but guess what? I'm I'm better today than yesterday. I'm doing things that make me happy. And granted, am I rich? No, but damn, I'm doing the stuff that I wanted to do and it's making me happy. That's success.
yes,
That's this whole thing of like going
it,
after the carrot of money and all this other stuff. That's a carrot you're never gonna get.
well, it reminds me of the old kind of, I don't know if it's like Buddhist saying or something like that, but like there is no way to happiness. Happiness is already the way. Have you heard that
Yes.
one?
Yes.
So in a sense, then this idea of change is kind of irrelevant. It's your attitude that matters most, because whatever your attitude is, if it's positive, if it's set right, if it's even calibration and refinement, like as you're talking about doing these tests and
Yeah.
getting grades and marks and getting the review and the answer and the insight of where you made these mistakes, you're refining and being calibrated. Those are kind of like micro changes.
Yes.
And
And but the
it's
thing
the
is,
attitude that will lead to whatever change happens
mhm,
eventually, or maybe inevitably. It kind of almost doesn't really matter. What matters most is that your attitude towards wanting to change is already the payoff.
well, it depends. It depends. You shouldn't want to do change just for the fact of change. Change should have a measurable positive impact in your life. Like if I recognize a shortcoming in my life, I need to figure out, one, can I address it myself or not? I might need help. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
might, and some might say that might be a psychologist. Some might say that might be, someone to help me motivate me to make the positive changes. Sometimes that might be the hard choice and going, I don't know what to do. Admitting that you don't know what to do is not failure. Admitting that you don't know what to do is the first step of making a change. Some people need to not be so harsh on themselves and say, if you don't know something, there's no shame in not knowing that you need help. The shame comes down to not taking any action and blaming other people for your shortcomings. That's a problem.
Yeah, maybe this is where we need to sort of take the direction of the conversation, because this is, I think, the problem a lot of people are finding
Okay.
is that sort of either they're so deeply shameful that they try and mask it. It's like, you don't need to help me. I'm so independent. I can do everything by myself, kind of thing. And maybe they are very capable, but it's to compensate and hide over this shame that really they feel maybe inadequate or insignificant or helpless, maybe. And they're doing these other, they're trying to make changes in other aspects of their life, but the more important one, their core values or principles, maybe the biggest change you could argue isn't so much what you achieve in life, it's contentment, is gratitude and appreciation, is being
Yes,
satisfied,
100%.
and
Look,
they can't achieve that, so they're trying to it's almost like what addicts do, isn't it? Like they try and find their happiness in the bottle or something.
Well, the thing is, their problem is setting impossible goals. So if you do smart goals, you're always gonna have something that you're going to attain, and you're never gonna be feeling unsuccessful, because you're the whole point is what's A in smart? Attainable. So if you're making goals that are not attainable, of course you're going to be emotionally and physically drained, because you're making these goals that, like I said, I feel bad for like the social justice warriors, because they have these goals that are so lofty, they're never going to hit it, and they become resentful, angry,
more and more. Yeah, it's like the harder you try, the worse
all this.
Yeah.
Why? Because they think the world's going to end. So in a world where you think the world's going to end, okay, you have a wrong opinion. But if you think that the world's going to end,
wait, do they believe that, or do they have to delude themselves into lying, like to say that as their
let me explain this real quick. So it's going to take a little bit to explain. But say you are a social justice warrior, okay? You believe the world's going to end, okay? You followed the quote unquote sign, the world's going to end. So now you're going, I'm going to have to give up not having kids. I'm going to have to not give it. I'm taking kids away. I'm taking meat away. I'm taking electricity away. I'm taking all these life things that are beneficial in my life. I have to throw them away because I feel like the world's going to end in 5 years. Okay. Those changes of manipulation has caused you to give up what is, in my opinion, one of the best things that you can ever give in your life would be having kids. Okay. Kids aren't for everybody, but I'm just saying you're giving up all these ginormous parts of your life because the world's going to end in 5 years. So the manipulation is causing you to change, to become something that you don't want to be. This is why you need everybody. I cannot stress this enough. You need to understand that, one, are you being manipulated? And two, the reason why you're getting manipulated is because you don't have the strong values to cause you to think rationally here. Okay.
What if?
And this is where this is where I was going to go with the purity spiral stuff, because I know on the notes we were talking about purity spirals. Yeah. And this goes with any purity spiral. If you notice that you're becoming more and more extreme in your friend group, like your friends are falling apart because you're just becoming more and more extreme because people are being more amped up, and this is on the left and on the right. Those are people that are manipulating you because you don't have strong enough principles for what you stand for. Okay, you're falling for the bullshit, and it's affecting your life.
I think what happens there is a little bit of like crabs in the bucket, where people start to like look for air quotes, like allies, like people that can kind of embellish this sort of narrative delusion. Because to tie in with the purity spiral in a way, I was going to throw in with this social activism, for example, that we're using, is maybe one of their values is to be a victim, the ultimate victim. So they kind of self-harm them. Like they say, they deny themselves wanting children or wanting happiness. They can't control themselves, so they try to control other people. and in such a way where they'll start to say things like the world's coming to an end or something like that, so that they can embellish and iron in this victim mentality, which
Mm-hmm.
grants them what they believe, the entitlement, the right to dictate to to try and shift their locus of control from having to be on themselves to externalizing it.
Well, okay, but all that stuff can be fixed with self-regulating and figuring out what you stand for. So, like I
But
said,
what if they
if
deny
you
them?
stand, if you okay,
But what if they say to themselves, like, I refuse to be responsible and to regulate myself? I demand that you do it for me. So I'm
but
going
the
to tell
thing
you
is,
what to do.
life's gonna throw. If you're gonna act that way, life is literally going to throw you
It's going to kick you in
into.
the ass.
It's gonna kick you in the ass so freaking hard because the thing is, life, life is unremitting. It is. It doesn't care who you are. At
Yeah,
the end of the
reality
day,
don't care about your fifis.
everybody dies. You're not getting out of this world alive, okay?
Yeah,
So, understanding that if you're making shitty decisions all the time, just like I said before, positive decisions, the more positive decisions will get you more positive decisions. Life
yeah.
is amoral. And what I mean by amoral means it doesn't care if you make good decisions or bad decisions. It's an amplifier. You keep making bad decisions, your bad decisions are going to give you more bad decisions, and the more bad decisions are going to make you make more bad decisions, and then it's going to be harder and harder to crawl yourself out. The
I
thing
mean,
is,
it seems
decisions.
almost,
There is a point when you will eventually realize, shit, I made horrific decisions in my life.
yeah,
What we're supposed to
a
do as
regret thing.
individuals is we're not supposed to go to that person and basically when they're already down, they realize they made mistakes. You're not there to, oh, they're on the ground. You're not there to mug them when they're on the ground. That's not going to solve anything. You're there to be the example to help them out. If if you see someone that is destroyed mentally, physically, emotionally, all that stuff, and you give them that person an open arm and help them bring them up, you're not just fixing your life and their life, you're fixing all the people around you's lives. So
Yeah.
you might hate that what that person stands for now. You stay and like I'll just use since a lot of people are MGTOW on this channel. You might not like women so much, and that's fair. Okay, you've been hurt or you just want to be left alone. That's fair. Okay, I'm not going to tell. I'm not. I'm going to be the last person to tell you what you're going to do with your life. Okay, and when it comes to at least that, as long as you don't go on the purity spiral. Now, if you go down the purity spiral and say, "Oh, I can't, I can't talk to women," that's one thing. I want to just be left alone. That's fair. Accept that. But if you're going in and now joining anti-woman talks, and now you're going to rallies, and now you're like, "Oh, women should be destroyed," and all these little micro decisions that become toxic are now taking over, you're going to be more and more radicalized.
Do you think
That's
there's
a
a bit?
problem.
Do
That's
you
a
think there's
problem.
like an element of a kind of like the horse before the cart takes place, where um people maybe who are unhealthy, they have the habit of like
Hmm.
that they have the goal, but they don't look at the how to get there. They overlook that because of the entitlement and grandiosity and things like that. So they've already determined with an expectation that this is the outcome, and so they try to morph the world to fit their expectation. So this is putting the cart before the horse.
Well,
And
the thing is, it's those micro decisions that you make, the micro changes that you forgave your principles, or you latched onto some kind of principle, and it's not the principle. Not might not be a problem. It's the way you're applying that principle to your life. And if you make any principle, positive or negative, you make that the sole focus of your life, it's normally going to kick your ass because
yeah,
the problem is when you become a certain identity or another way of looking at this would be like a job, the people that value their job and their job becomes their sole identity feature. I work at Google, and I'm an engineer, and I make changes in the world, and then guess what happens? What happens when you lose your job?
Right.
You
Yeah.
lose your job, your whole identity is gone, and you have these people end up unaliving themselves
Well, this
because
is what I
they
mean. It's
put
kind of
all
like
their value into their job when they should have been like, what's the
yeah.
purpose of a job? Purpose of a
That's what I
job
was
is a
sort of meaning.
means
Like
to an end.
they've kind of got it backwards.
Yes.
It's instead of building up the value which leads to you having a job or whatever goal, and it goes back to that sort of like building and the appreciation and the merit and all this that goes into it. They've gone about it backwards, and they've got the job. Now they're trying to extrapolate their value and their character from that. Quick shout out to the people who have just joined, not just joined, but people I've noticed coming in. So CJ, Reviving Real News, MGTOW Mindset. Was there someone else? Daniel.
Yeah, my condolences to
So
MGTOW
everyone that's
Outlaws,
here.
to MGTOW Outlaw. Hope everything's okay. If you need to,
Yeah,
if you need to talk,
okay.
reach out.
Great to see you all here. So thank you all for being here. Yeah, so going back to the kind of original question that's kicked us off starting this conversation about some of the sentiments that are being said.
Okay.
Can we I mean, I think me and you, we kind of we get what like when people say we don't want the chaos, we want things to be peaceful.
Yes.
Like maybe I'm directing this more towards the audience here, but can we see now that saying we want things to be peaceful is too ambiguous? It's too lofty.
Yes.
It's kind of we need to refine this idea. What do we mean by peaceful? And no good just saying we just want to stop fighting. It's like, no, we have to be a bit more particular. We need, like as Bandit was saying, smart. We want to be able to measure this. How can we take account of this? What is it that we're doing?
Well, the thing is, if you live a life where you are forcing your views on someone else, you're going to live a life of disappointment. The odds of succeeding is very slim to none, and you're always going to be disappointed. However, if you live a life of what you stand for every day is what your actions tell the rest of the world, then you're going to be a successful person. And what I mean by that is it's a mindset thing. If you decide to go in and be basically the arbiter of what you believe in, you're going to inspire other people in your life to be what you are, because your example is the beacon of what you stand for. So if I'm a shitty person, okay, and I just go over, tell people what to do, ungrateful for their actions, I care about myself, I don't go helping other people, I'm just the epitome of a shitty person, no one's going to listen to what I'm going to say. Well, they're going to actually do the exact opposite. And whatever I stand for, they're also going to do the exact opposite. So if you care about your belief, I don't care what your belief is. It could be religion. It could be your principles. It could be whatever you stand for. And if you come off as an arrogant asshole, or you come off as uninspiring or just an asshole, you're actually hurting your cause. You're not helping your cause. You're hurting your cause. But if you go in and be the best example of what it stands for and be stoic, help other people, serve other people, all this other stuff. If Bandit was a feminist, oh Jesus Christ, GM, you're killing me. But if you come off as the best thing of what you stand for, you're going to inspire other people by change without even saying what you want.
You just read my mind. I was just about to say, you almost don't even need to say anything because you're leading by example. Your actions speak louder than words. Yes. And there's also, if you've got someone who's banging the drum there and saying like, look, they're a horrible, vile, vulgar, whatever type of foaming at the mouth, and they're telling everyone to be love and light and rainbows and sunshine, they might not be able to see it because they're up to their own shenanigans. But from everyone else's point of view, it's like you're a contradiction.
Yes,
you're full of hate, and you're telling everyone to be nice to one another, to self-love or something like this. It's like It's like, come on, man.
Well,
Are
it's
you,
not
are
even
you,
that. You're
is
also
this projection? Is this like I can't treat myself with self-love, and I'm telling you, these are my demands. So it's like, going back using peace as the example. It's like I can't have peace. I can't give myself peace. I can't control myself and my temper and all this. So I'm gonna tell everyone else to stop fighting to make me happy.
yeah, and the thing is, what all you're doing is creating more enemies. That's what you're
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so in a sense, your purity spiral of being a not a good example of what you stand for, instead of motivating people to your side, you're actually creating more enemies, and then you're going to get more angry. And this is what I'm
It's
getting at. When I
it's a,
made this, what I mean
that's
by decisions are basically amoral. You keep making bad decisions, more they're just an amplifier. The more bad
yeah,
decisions you
yeah.
make, the more bad things are going to happen in your life. And
You
then
become more
instead of
resentful, then the
having
more demanding you make. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
instead of
it's like,
having yeah instead of having golden opportunities, you have golden failures where you're going to have I'm going to hit rock bottom and it's going to be bad.
I
I'm going
mean,
to
kind
have
of like,
no
yeah.
friends.
It's like self-defeating almost, is too mildly put. I'll shout out to Tommy Big Guns here for coming in. The ant's death spiral.
Yes.
It's almost
Yes.
like that. That's what it is, really. It's not really. I mean, it's called a purity spiral. Or this is the idea. Hopefully, we can purify ourselves and make ourselves more virtuous and holier than thou kind of thing. But realistically, it's actually like the ant's death spiral. People get
Yeah.
sucked into it. More and more like, essentially they're victims or whatever. More damaged people, and and it's just. I mean, how do you escape that?
Well, how do you escape that? The first level of doing that is having an accountability person that looks at you and says, "This is not who you are. Wake up. Yeah, you're being an asshole here. You need to go back to what you're supposed to be." And that's when you're supposed to have good friends. Now, if you don't have good friends and you don't have good family, then you need to be extra hyper vigilant on doing the feedback loop, because you need to recognize on your own where you're making bad decisions. And the more you recognize that you're making bad decisions, the least amount of times you're going to realize, oh, I'm starting to make a bad decision. You're going to catch it in real freaking time. You're going to be like, holy shit, I'm doing what I keep doing. And now I'm realizing it in real time. Okay. So if I'm hot headed and I keep, we disagree and I chew you out, and I finally recognize this and I'm doing it mid act, I go, holy shit, I'm sorry. Can you give me like 5 minutes? I need to take a walk to calm myself down and center myself. And then we can have this conversation. Okay. You do stuff like that, that little one sentence conversation with your friend and say, look, I'm being a piece of shit right now. I need to relax. Can you give me 5 minutes? A good friend's going to be like, okay, go for a walk. I'll be here when you get back. And then you can have that conversation. You're actually making the little changes to affect yourself. And the only way you're doing that is by self-reflection.
Yeah, I think, um, it's these micro changes that make the biggest differences. Now, on a
Yeah.
cosmic level, you've got asteroids hitting the Earth or whatever. A fraction of a degree can make all the difference, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's so important, these small baby steps, and
Yeah.
over time, I think, like we were saying throughout this conversation, you'll be able to, once you're more skilled and more aware and more attentive to making these and being responsible for yourself and your behaviors and how you conduct yourself and so on, you can then make bigger, more responsible choices later on down the journey.
Yes. And the thing is, all life really is a lo- a laundry list of previous decisions that affect current decisions. Okay. So if you're on the wrong path, okay, and you keep going down this path, it's not like you can just make one decision and it fixes everything. You have years of making bad decisions that you're going to have to rectify before you go on the right path. And there's no shortcuts. I can't go in and say, yeah, you're a bully. say Billy, you were a bully when you were in high school, and you really caused some problems to Jimmy. Okay, you really tormented Jimmy pretty bad in high school. You can't just one day call Billy up, or sorry, you can't call Jimmy
Yeah.
up and say, Jimmy, I was an asshole in high school. Can you forgive me? That might work if the person is okay with it, but you're gonna have to do a lot more fixing on that situation. You're gonna, if you really want to have that relationship with Jimmy, you're gonna have to go in and apologize. You have to explain to him, I was going through a lot back then. I took it out on you. It was not right. I really like to fix this relationship. And then the thing is, a lot of it isn't your choice. If Jimmy
Right.
wants to go in and say, "Yeah, you're a dick," and we're done,
Yeah.
you can't force Jimmy to like you. You're gonna have to
Exactly.
realize that your previous decisions costed that future relationship.
Yeah.
However,
The consequences.
don't don't look at it as I have an excuse now to be a dick again. No, you need to look at excuses. I need to learn from this. Hey, it's the feedback loop, and go in and say, I made a shitty decision. I'm never going to go back on this path again, and I'm going to have to do some soul searching, and I'm going to have to maybe look at people that were bullied and take the extreme route to rectify this situation. So maybe I need to join the the boys and girls club and be a better mentor to help people that were bullied, because I was a bully. I know how that hurt, and maybe I can help these people. So that's taking a negative and turning it into a positive. Okay.
So there's multiple. Sam, did I say shout out to Sam? I don't know if I said already, and Johnny Midnight's here, so shout out to you guys. So there are multiple lessons in a way built into all of what we're saying here, like because to to apologize to Jimmy many years later, and he might turn around and say "F you, Billy,"
Yes.
you know, and I would have to be, if I want to be responsible and grown up about it, be accepting of his point of view and be like, you know what, I apologize. He didn't want to accept it. I won't hold that against him,
Yes.
and I'll
Yes.
learn from this mistake and I won't bully someone else in the future. Um, but I think that's sort of like a responsible way. But if you got someone who is not very, they don't like that kind of rejection, or they're entitled, they assume that just because they apologize everything's going to be hunky-dory, all sins forgiven. It's like, are we
But
have we learned
rejection is
anything,
growth.
have we learned anything from that? So it's like, no. So there's no
Yes.
growth.
Yes. But the but
Nothing's changed.
but let's peel that onion back a little bit. Why didn't I grow there? Well, I didn't grow because I didn't test myself. I didn't if I have a problem with rejection is a part of life. I need to accept that, because the only way for me to grow is to be rejected. It's to, when I said, you're going to learn more from your failures than your successes. So being rejected is a good thing. People need to realize being rejected, you have two options when you get rejected. You can either fall into apathy, or you can take that and spin it and motivate you to either fix yourself or make that person regret that making that bad decision. So say you really want to get a job. You really like this employer. This is your dream job. And you're just like, man, I really want to work for this company. And you interview, you thought you did well, but you end up not doing so well. And you were brave, and you asked the interviewer, like, where did I go wrong? And the person says, well, you lacked experience, you didn't show confidence, you're twiddling, you're nervous, you didn't put deodorant on, we saw your pit stains. Then you go, okay,
Oh man.
I got no, I'm just, I'm trying to be hyperbolic here, but
No, I know.
you're going, your image looks like crap, your resume is not so good. So you go, okay, I have two options. I can go, this company's a piece of shit. I'm never going to work for them. They don't deserve me. That would be the wrong approach. The right approach would be, okay, I'm going to work for a competitor. I'm going to gain a couple years of experience. I'm going to go and do an image overhaul. I'm going to go buy a good suit. I'm going to be better prepared because I work in the industry now. So now I actually know some lingo. I know some competitors. I know what other competitors are thinking. And then in 3 and 5 years, when I have the experience for the role, I'm going to reapply. Now, say you meet that person again. Now that person's 5 years older. It's like, oh shit. That's the same person I interviewed with. Now, if that person recognized you, gave you another shot, and then they saw, okay, you're wearing a good suit, you smell good, you when you interviewed, you had a image of authority, you had your hands on the table, you didn't put in your pockets, you had a good firm handshake, you gave experience, you gave life experience, you answered every question with an an adequate response based off your experience and how you'd handle different situations. I guarantee you're going to get that freaking job. So the thing that what happened is, it's all about motivation. You can you can take yourself in apathy, which you're not going to grow, or you can use that failure and say, if I really want this, I'm going to have to work on myself. That person did me a freaking solid by being ruthless and telling me where I effed up.
Yeah.
Because
It's kind of,
otherwise, if these places now today, they don't even tell you why you failed. And
well,
so how do you expect you to grow and be a better employee, or to know where I'm messing up, without someone being brutally honest with somebody? Now,
yeah.
is it the purpose of it to eviscerate somebody? No. There's a fine line between, giving good advice
Well,
and
it's constructive
destroying
criticism.
someone emotionally.
Yeah. And it's also like a little bit of like a blessing in disguise, because it's like that accountability buddy you were saying as well earlier.
Yeah.
It's although it's not really your buddy, it's a potential employer, but
Yes.
it's someone who's is showing is holding up a little bit of a mirror to you, and highlighting some things that you've overlooked or can't quite see, and it's like, hey buddy, this is, you might want to work on this here, you know. It'll do you well to improve these areas.
Yes, but
Yeah.
why did I make those decisions? And this is the biggest thing that I can teach somebody. Okay? You need to be freaking humble as all hell. Life is going, if you're not humble, life is going to destroy you. Life is going to throw you curveballs. Life is going to treat you like a piece of crap. There is no problem asking for advice if you don't know somebody, to rely on friends and family. Life
So
today, like, basically, if you did everything that life is telling you in the press and everything, and did the polar opposite, you're going to live a happy life. So,
so
for
okay.
example, if you stop focusing on on individualism, and you focus more on communal aspects, if you stop worry about the ego and serving others, if you start, being the best person you can be, and not being self-centered, if you stop focusing on money and focusing on other important things, and just view money as a means to get what you want to accomplish past, if you want to work on building relationships instead of playing video games, there's nothing wrong with playing video games, okay, but like, if it's your sole purpose and you're not making those human connections, you're going to live a shallow life. That is why you need to start doing the opposites, because remember, it's not about what they tell you, it's the net results of that behavior. So if the more people you help in life, guess what, when life throws you curveballs, you have people to rely on.
Yeah.
If you're a self-centered person, you can't grow. How
So
am I going to grow with change if no one's going to help motivate me with change? It ain't
okay,
going to
so
happen.
I'm gonna twist your, if you don't mind, I'm gonna twist your words a little bit. I know this isn't what you're gonna be intending, but could we say, right, that maybe one of the problems a community, large on the whole, has, is that they're not humble enough.
Hmm.
They'll state that they want changes and make demands of what should happen and how things should go,
Okay.
but they cannot make these changes take place. If anything, they're kind of counterproductive about it,
Okay.
because of the, like, death ant spiral, purity spiral thing. And if they were able to be a bit more humble,
Okay.
in turn, they could then be more accepting that they need some assistance and help, instead of being all pure and nothing wrong with them.
Well, the thing is, there's certain things of life that's is gonna hit you like a sack of potatoes. Okay, if you're not humble, life will make you humble. Life has
Cool.
no problem making somebody humble. That that I can guarantee 100%. If you go, if you're acting like it, like an arrogant asshole, life is going to destroy you. It's
Yeah.
I don't have to teach you that life lesson. Life is going to do that already. Is it a matter of Is it a matter that I need to teach you this lesson? No, life's going to do that yourself. Is it going to happen today? No. Is it going to happen tomorrow? But it's coming. And you know it too. Because the thing is, the more times you piss off inner relationships, that's going to, I've always found that in my life. If I destroy relationships, even if the person had screwed me over in the past, if I go in and decided to let my ego go in and destroy a relationship, it always bites me in the ass.
So how
Now, if
much of
I go
this?
into a relationship that was toxic and I leave on good terms, normally when the other person comes around, it might take a couple of years, but we work things out, and it
Right.
ends up working out. It's when I allow my ego or some negative aspect of my personality to take place that basically pulls me away from my path or my values. Anytime I do that in my life beats the crap out of me. It makes me understand that's a life lesson that life will teach you yourself. Not every life lesson has to be told by someone else. Morally, this is where religion comes into, because religion teaches you a lot of this stuff. And the more people, the more we become a atheistic society, it's a pendulum. We're in a transition period. The more atheist the society becomes, the more religion is actually going to take place, because people are going to look at the hope and the inspiration of the people that are religious, and they're going to mimic those in their lives, and then they're going to become religious afterwards. And the thing comes down to this: life is not about change; it's about cycles, and recognizing when cycles happen and where we are on these cycles. So if we are if we're in a transition period, anytime there's a transition period, there's going to be a lot of change. And we're going through a transition period right now. Okay. And anytime there's transition period and so much change, you're going to have that. This is when everybody's going to be tested. This is when the weak men are going to be found out. This is when the strong men are going to be found out, the weak women, the strong women. Okay. The people that have values and then give themselves the opportunities to take advantage of when changes happen in their lives are going to succeed. That's all success is taking an opportunity that life gives you and capitalizing it.
It's
And
also
your
a
previous decisions will allow you to either capitalize or not capitalize on those decisions.
maybe not necessarily
Or
capitalize, but
opportunities.
simply even coping. Because when changes come about, it's stress. So it's like a question of how well can you handle stress, and it's like, are you going to get bent out of shape over spilt milk?
Yeah, but
Now,
stress, the thing is, most stress is avoidable. Most stress comes down to poor planning. Because if you are expecting something to happen, are you stressed? Even if it's a bad event, you're not going to be as stressed out as if a good event. Like, for example, if you know that you have a bill to pay and it's going to be freaking expensive, and you're going to be like, this sucks. But the last 6 months I've been going to the casino, and I've been tearing it up to the casino, and I've been dropping too much money at the casino, and now my water heat. What happens is, guess what? That's when Murphy comes in, and Murphy's an asshole, because he's going to be like, your water heater broke. So instead of being smart, and this is where you need to look at life and not be so angry at life. When life is telling you, okay, you have a bad spending habit and you're wasting your money at the casino, and then your water heater breaks, and now you have to finance the water because you can't afford it, and now you can't go to the casino. Life is telling you you're making shitty decisions and you need to capitalize it. Now, most people are going to be like, life sucks, and I need to go and reach out to my friends. I need to be humble. Look at all these life lessons that you're learning. You're learning communication. You're learning to being humble, asking for help, all these other humbling aspects. The reason why life is asking you to be humble is because you keep making shitty decisions, and life is telling you, stop it. You need to take accountability of your life. But life you can't just be accountable. Life shows you to be accountable. Like if life is going to force you to be accountable at some point. And the thing is, the self-reflection is where people are missing, and that self-reflection is how you grow. Because if you're still if you always find in your aspects of your life that you're making the same dumbass decision time and time again, most of the time is you're doing two things. You're not planning for a better situation to happen that you can capitalize on, and number two, you're not planning on basically not looking at us and doing any self-reflection and realize, oh my God, I'm keep making the same dumbass decision over and over again. How can I fix this? Am I the definition of insanity, doing the same shit over and over again, expecting different results? Probably.
Maybe. Yeah.
But the reason why you're insane is because you haven't done any self-reflection. If you did self-reflection, you go, oh crap, okay, I see when I'm making the same damn mistake. Okay, this time I'm going to do something weird. I'm actually not going to do what feels right for once, and I'm going to actually make a hard decision. And that courage of recognizing, one, that I have a problem, two, the courage to make the good decision, and three, this is the big one, setting myself into an environment where I keep making more good decisions than bad decisions. Because a lot of the problem that we have today is we're in a rut where the people in our life, or the culture that we're in, or the society that we're in, or the town we're in, forces us to keep making the same dumbass decisions over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, in psychological terms, there's this idea of avoiding responsibility. And so to make good decisions is also taking on responsibility. So if you've got someone who doesn't want any responsibility, it's kind of in their makeup to not make good decisions. It's because it's a contradiction otherwise. But what I wanted to throw in there, I was going to throw it in earlier, but I think here's a good place to throw it in, is an element of respect. Because if you're not attending to the things that you should be doing, in a way, you're being disrespectful to life, and in turn, also yourself, because you're treating yourself like a joke, and you're treating life like a joke.
Well, the thing is, you might not recognize that it's a joke, and I'm trying to help people recognize their self-flaws, and that's what self-actualization is. It's recognizing your flaws. Yeah, I can't tell you what's wrong with you. You need to know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, but I don't mean like joke as in like, haha, this is funny, Oh, yeah. I mean, in terms of like a disrespectful kind of insult. It's like, I don't really care about myself at all. And that could be a whole bunch of reasons. And self-hate, there's a lack of self-love and all this sort of stuff, low self-esteem. But if for whatever reasons, they got no real care for their own well-being, they don't show themselves even any respect. So if they don't show themselves respect, ergo, why would they show life itself any respect and other people any respect? So it's almost kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, or maybe a sort of spite. Do they start to value being spiteful or bitter? And it's, I don't know, like what kind of lens they look at life, but it doesn't seem to be very it's that kind of, do they find happiness in being a grumpy old bastard kind of it's like,
well, the thing is,
they totally inverted it inside out.
But the thing is, life will tell you that you're making mistakes. Okay, it'll tell you by the relationships you're in, the decisions that you make. The thing comes down to this, though, is it's easy. It's so easy to figure out what you did right. Everybody can recognize what you did right. That doesn't take skill. The skill is recognizing where you made a mistake.
No, but I mean, like, maybe it goes into like the value structure. But like, if you got someone who's very like masochistic, they enjoy their pain and suffering, and they're very victimhood orientated. So it's almost like the worst decisions they can make, the better kind of thing. Because to them, this is validation. This is legitimacy. This gives them the entitlement. This means that you must take sympathy out on me. I don't have to be responsible. I get an easy street in life because I am the oppressed. I am the victim. So yeah, I mean, it's a miserable way of living life and probably a duration of life or whatever. Their life will end quicker. But I
But
guess
the,
it comes down to is if that's the way they want to, if that's the way they want to be it, that's
but the
their
thing is,
decision, that's their
life,
choice.
those choices are the sum of those choices over 5 or 10 years. Remember, you got to look at things as life doesn't give you answers immediately. Okay. Life gives you answers over time. Okay. So, for example, if you're making a cumulative amount of decisions that are masochistic, that are self sabotaging, you might not recognize it now. You might not recognize it in a year. You might not recognize it in 5 years. But in 10 years, you're going to look at all the decisions that got you there. And eventually, life's going to smack you in the face. Okay.
Yeah.
So when what I want people to realize is if you're having a moment, an existential crisis, or you're having a, what woe is me, what the fuck happened to my life? Good, you hit freaking rock bottom. First thing you need to do is recognize you hit rock bottom, which is good, okay? Because now you recognize there's a problem. That's half the battle right there. That's really half the battle right there. You recognize there's a problem. Okay, perfect. Now we can talk about recovery and growth. Okay, I can't fix people that haven't hit rock bottom because they haven't recognized that there's a problem to
Yeah.
make change.
Well,
You can't force
denial.
change on people. I cannot stress this enough. You cannot force change on people. People need to make change on their own. So if you understand that principle, the only way you can fix people is when they hit rock bottom, you offer a hand, you pull them up, and you give them guidance. And then they
So
have to make the decision from there.
okay, so welcome someone called Star. I don't know who this is, but thank you for coming over to the channel. They seem to know you,
Yeah,
Bandit.
yeah, Star's good.
So I'm not sure if we're going to have time for this part of the conversation, but I'll throw it in quickly. Maybe you can come back for
Yeah,
another stream and we can continue this conversation because 2 hours we're going to kind of pretty much close up. If that's all right.
that's fair.
So we've got about 15 minutes left, but it's almost like depending who we're talking to, like, because it's one thing to offer suggestions and advice and direction to someone who's willing, who has hit rock bottom. They've woken up and they are vulnerable, exposed, and open, and listening.
Okay.
Probably is one of the most important thing to be able to receive this information. But if you've got someone who is so deep in their they've got strong denial. Now, denial is a protector. It's the oldest one, arguably like the biggest protection for someone's survival.
Okay.
And they got these other problems like they're masochistic or whatever. They got low self-esteem. But denial particularly, and maybe magical thinking and some of this other kind of delusional wacky-dacky stuff. Are we wasting our time trying to? I mean, like you said, you can't force change on someone, but is it a waste of time even bothering to talk to them? Should we just let them carry on being fanatical and let reality kick them in the backside for us in a way?
No. And how you fix that person like that is really simple. You be the best damn example of what you stand for. And your example of a good life, of what a moral person is going to be the inspiration that person needs to fix their life.
Okay. So
So
you're being but you're not saying anything to them.
No,
you're just carrying on with your life.
Yes, actions speak louder than words. If
Yeah.
you were if you're the paragon of truth, or you're the paragon of a moral person, that's infectious. Okay,
But
if
I
you
say
come
this.
off as helping other people, bringing people up, and if your paragon is inspiration, okay, you're an inspiring person. You bring people up. That's infectious. You're going to show that what a good life is, and when the person hits rock bottom and you offer a hand, they're going to be like, okay, the decisions I'm making in my life is dog crap. Help me. The only
Yeah.
way that help me happened is because they recognize that you're an inspirational figure in their life to motivate them to make the change. So the best thing a friend can do, that a person that they don't know is making bad decisions, but they can't make that decision, is you need to be the best damn human being possible. So when they do hit rock bottom, they're going to look at you and going, I want to be you. How do I do it? And when
Yeah.
someone says that, that's when you don't kick them when they're down. You don't, they're already bleeding, bloody in a corner. You don't go
Haha, I
mugging
told you
that
so.
person. No, you
Yeah,
don't mug that person. You offer a hand. You wrap them up in bandages and then show them the path. That's how you inspire people. That's how you
sure.
bring people up.
I think with that would be a lot of patience as well. Um,
Well, yeah, patience. Why do you think patience is a virtue?
yeah, I was about to say
Because
yes, that's a virtue
patience is
for your part. Yeah.
all patience is foregoing truth.
No, I bring this point about like, are we wasting our time talking to people who want to have their fingers in their ears,
Yes,
and
you are.
how do we help? Because it's in terms of community settings, it's like presumably the people in the chat right now are people who want to listen, because if they want to double down in denial and not want to do any of this change stuff that we're talking about this evening, they wouldn't be here. You know,
Yes.
they might be here because they want to and be agitated or something. So I presume everyone in the chat are looking for nuggets of looking for growth. They've got that kind of capability, or they're mature enough to understand what we're discussing here. So we're not talking to deaf ears, but when the community in general tries to spread the message of positivity or inspiration, is it kind of like casting pearls before swine almost? Are they wasting their breath? And like
Well,
you
think about
said,
this.
it has to be a role model. So is
Well,
there any
community. What's a community? A community is a group of like-minded individuals. Okay, that's all a community is. Community is a group of like-minded individuals at its core. So, knowing that people can be easily corrupted, if you're following a community that you don't believe in, you have two options. You either show them the path of what a good community is by your values, or you leave that freaking community. And that's the thing with the internet. It's a pro and a con here. The pro is you can bring other people into your community. The con is you can bring people into your other community. If you're degenerate, you're going to find a degenerate community that's going to affirm your toxic beliefs. That's a negative.
Right.
We all know that's a negative, and we know the
So
internet is toxic. On the flip side, on the positive end, you have communities where if you're doing good and you're bringing good to society, you're going to inspire other people and bring people to your community and hopefully make some positive change. Like I said, most things in life are amoral, and people attribute morality to things that should not have morality, because all morality is choice. At some point, it's either making a good choice or a bad choice. So if people need to start looking at things as not amoral, but looking at things as tools. Because if you look at things as tools, all a tool is it's an amplifier of of what you're trying to accomplish. So, like for example, everybody say money's a negative thing. No, money's a tool, and a tool is just an amper. All money is an amplifier of decision making. So if you're a good person, it's gonna amplify, and you make more better decision, you can affect a lot more good in society. But if you're an evil person, you're gonna take money and you're gonna be able to do more evil things. Money's a tool. Communities are a tool. They're not the person is the moral aspect. The community is an amplification of that society, and that amplification is influence. Okay, so the more I am influential, the bigger my community is, the more clout I have. Now, if I'm a good person, I can bring these people and make great decisions. If I'm a crappy person, I can destroy people. Okay? Do I? And this is where communities get bad, because a lot of them have tenets or rules. And if you follow these rules, you're part of this community. It's basically indoctrination. if you want to follow these tenets, you need to follow these things, and if you don't follow these tenets, well, then you're not part of the community. Then you're a problem. Then we need to go after you. Okay.
So
That's
is
the problem.
there comes a time then if there's a clash of people's principles, values, tenets, or whatever, I suppose we're saying is like maybe part of that decision making of making choices and change. One of the options there to be considered is letting go.
Correct. And the thing is, why do you think certain people always say the best thing is just let them go? Because what is that decision is going to be toxic for you. It's better to cut them out now than 20 years when you realize now you're going to have resentment on the top of it, and that's going to really eat at you. The thing is, you can only force someone to do something if they want to do it. If you have kids, you understand this right away. If you can be a freaking Stalin, you can be a dictator in that kid's life, but the kid's still going to do what the kid wants to do. All you can do is push them to do better decisions and explain why. If you do it this way, it's harmful. If you do it this way, it's not so harmful. So if we take this approach, then it's gonna like, for example, if your kid really wants to stick a fork in a power socket, they're gonna eventually do it when you're not there, and it's gonna hurt, and you're gonna make fun of them for it.
Yeah, but
but if you go in and tell them don't do it, and it's gonna hurt you, and I can prove it hurts you, and you shouldn't do it, they have a choice now. They have the knowledge to know that it's harmful. And now if they're not going to listen to you, you can't force that. However, you can only give them the best opportunity to make the best decisions possible. And that is either by knowledge or through experience.
I think because you just kind of reminded me, but we definitely won't have time to cover this, but there'll be a whole section that goes with what we're saying here about manipulation. So, because as you were talking about kind of like guiding children, I was just thinking, well, you could bribe them, you know, or guilt trip them or something like that. You know, you can manipulate them.
But bribes only work on an added value approach. So the bribes are just going to get bigger and bigger. So like if you're paying someone to do chores and you're teaching them a life lesson of how to use money, that's a different story. But if you're saying, you know, we're going to a family event and I will pay you $10 if you don't curse. Okay. Now, next time the kids are like, oh, I got $10 this time. I want 15. They don't want a life lesson. They just learn that you're a money machine. That's what they learn.
Inflation very quickly.
Yes. And that's the whole thing. Instead of saying, if you say a curse word, I'm going to be very shameful.
Oh,
you're going to be punished. Sorry, you're going to be punished.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yes. You're going to be punished.
These are areas that we're going to have to say for another time. So we've got manipulation, we've got punishment. Maybe we could throw in with that as well, like double standards or hypocrisy.
And like I said, most of all of this stuff comes out with when people say the truth will set you free. They mean it for a reason, because you can only throw the charade for so long. Once the charade is up, it's up. It's over.
Yeah. Kind of like faking it till you make it as well, a little bit there.
That only works
sort of like
if you make it. Fake it till you make it only works if you make it. If you keep faking it.
Yeah, well, yes.
And you never make it, it's eventually going to get up to you.
Yeah. But if you're faking it and giving the illusion that you have made it, even though you haven't, you know.
Well, life's going to throw you. Life's going to smack you in the face on that one.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's the whole thing. Life eventually is going to affirm your bad decisions or your good decisions.
I think some of these fakers, though, they'll dedicate the rest of their life to this charade of deception and trying to fool. I mean, internally, you know, it's eating them up because deep down they know the truth and they know it's all a sham. But they're kind of like, yeah, as long as I can fool everyone else, that'll suffice, I suppose. It's not my way or what I would want, how I want to live my life, but I think for some people, they're kind of happy with that. This superficial way of being. But
Hmm.
this is kind of like having the mask and having to attend to damage control. It's almost like it's kind of funny, because if you just redirected that energy to where it should go, into like growing yourself, you wouldn't have any of these problems. So it's not like they're incapable or haven't got the resources or energy to make better decisions. It's that they've kind of chosen to do the sort of backwards way of doing things.
Yes,
That's why
but
I did the
the
stream a
thing
while
comes
ago.
down
Like,
to
they're not really stupid, you know.
what
They're kind of they're deceptively stupid.
yeah, but I want people to have the mindset that this is an important mindset. When people make dumb decisions, you do not need to add fuel to the fire. Life's going to smack them in the face eventually. And the reason why I say this is, if you just walk away, that added stress to your life, it's not worth it. Life's going to eventually get back to these people.
So are you disagree with this idea of positive shaming?
Okay, there's two ways of looking at it. If you care about the individual is your best friend, your individual is your family member, yes, you're going to do every tool imaginable to bring them into the right path. Yes. But if you're asking for society to change, I have a tree to sell you. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to affect the change that you want. And what's going to happen is you're going to be resentful, angry. You're only going to be able to change people that want to change. Okay. And you're only going to be able to change things on a micro level. You cannot change things on a macro level unless you are one of those rare people like MLK or something that can cause a movement to change things. Okay. But I'm saying for the average Joe, you're not going to affect the change that you think you're going to change. And what's going to happen is you're going to become resentful, angry, and bitter.
So
And it's going to
there's
be your damn fault.
so
The thing
along
is,
with risk assessment,
yes.
or being risk willing or risk adverse or something, there is
Mhm.
also a element of cost evaluation.
Oh, yeah,
Cost.
there's always a cost. Everything has a
Yeah,
cost.
yeah,
And sometimes the costs are not realized until years later, and sometimes they're realized as you do them. Okay. Everything has a cost. The fact that you're making a decision has a cost. It's called
right.
opportunity cost. If
Well,
I do X, I can't do Y.
yeah,
I
we
mean,
mentioned it earlier, actually.
yeah,
Anyway, we talk about it as sacrifice. You know, like
yes,
you want these big dreams. You want a big house. Okay, wonderful. But the sacrifice is you're going to need a maid or something. You're going to have bigger
yes,
repair bills or something that go with it.
and that becomes your value structure. So, like, if you're okay with having a maid raise your kids and not being, that might be okay in the short run. You might have more free time in the short term, but when your kids grow up and they realize, guess what? You really weren't part of my life. The maid was more of a, I'm more closer to the maid than you. Then you're going to realize 20 years down the road that you fucked up, but you can't go back. Not like there's a
Yeah,
redo button. So the thing is, normally the hard decision is the right decision.
yeah. And I
And
think
does that suck? Absolutely. But
the more responsible people
mhm,
will factor things like that in and have better awareness of the ramifications, whereas the inexperienced, the poor decision makers, they have a narrow uh, perception of, I just want lots of money, and they're not thinking about the consequences that go with it. So ultimately, it becomes a bad decision.
yes.
Now, it's not the same as a hard decision. It's a bad decision.
Well, like I said, bad decisions are eventually going to bite you in the ass. Good decisions are going to make your life better. Okay. So
Yeah,
when you do self reflection, you're going to realize I made a bad decision and I need to rectify it. Because the key thing is the longer you don't rectify bad things, the harder and more expensive it is to fix them later on.
yeah. I mean,
Time is an
uh,
amplifier. Okay.
so a good decision is a hard decision, and a bad decision is an easy decision in a way. You do what's. I got this little
Yes,
expression I say
in
to my
normal
kid.
circumstances, yes.
I got this
Sometimes there's
expression I
easy
say to my kid.
decisions, like doing fentanyl is a bad thing. That's an easy decision. If I've never done fentanyl before, I'm never going to try fentanyl because I can know it can kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not every decision's an easy decision. Okay. Sometimes the easy decision is the easy decision. If I don't have $1 million and I want to buy $1 million house, I can't afford it. Okay. Tough luck for me. It's
So,
it's that middle of the road decisions are the very tough ones. I can do X and I can do Y. Both of them are good decisions, but they're going to cost me in different ways. I can either get a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic. One I can afford, one's a little more expensive I can afford, but I'm giving up something in the future. So it's the middle of the road decisions that are the tougher ones than the and I'll say this, the middle of the road decisions that you have the opportunity to do both, but there's a significant cost attributed to them. Like going to school or not is not a hard decision. Okay. Now, going to school when you're sick, yes, that's a hard decision. But if you are doing something that's more affecting of your life for the future for many years, like, okay, do I have the choice to go a higher education? Yes or no? That's a hard decision. If I wanted, I don't care if it's a trade or schooling. If I decide to do this, it's 4 years of hell for me. But
okay.
I'm foregoing the pain now to have a better future. Most of the
Right.
time, if you
Delayed gratification.
forego happiness now
Yeah.
for pleasure in the future, you make more decisions like that, the happier you're going to be.
Yeah.
The
I agree.
sacrifice is basically foregone present day pleasure for future success. Okay. The more people that sacrifice, especially when you're young, if you
Yeah.
don't
So
sacrifice when you're young, opportunities are going to disappear in your future. So,
I mean,
they, especially to the younger guys that are in their late teens and their 20s, you're going to be making a ton of sacrifices
I
because
think with
the
sacrifice,
sacrifices you make when you're young allow you to have future better opportunities
it's
than if you
almost
never
like
sacrifice.
it's almost like an investment. I think sacrifice almost is a topic we can cover separately
Yeah,
because I think there's a bit of a maybe it's like a misconception when people hear sacrifice, they tend to think of something's being taken away, like their
it
victim,
is.
you
It
know.
is.
Um, but
But the
but
thing
we
is,
could
what
turn
you're
this
giving
around
up
into a
is
positive.
nothing. Sorry.
It's like an investment as well, though. You know,
It
like
is.
so.
Sacrifice, all sacrifice is foregoing a pleasure now for a bigger pleasure in the future. So
Yeah, so it
if
doesn't have to be a negative per se.
it
It
is a
might
negative.
hurt, but for if it's for a greater happiness in the future, though, is it really a negative?
It is
It isn't maybe in the here and
decisions are
now.
current, because you're conflating two different things. You're conflating a current day decision for a future pleasure. People are normally never future oriented. They're mostly either past, looking at your past, or current. Most people are not visionaries. Most people are focused on the now or on the past. So when you have to sacrifice, it's a showing of character, because people that recognize I need to do this now to fix my future, that's character development. Okay, that's a higher level of existence. Okay, if you're just relying on your animalistic behaviors, you're working on low tier development.
Okay, so then if they're not visionaries and they can't see the future, then when they hear the word sacrifice, they're just thinking of loss. They don't
Yes.
see right. Okay.
So their
Uh,
problem is knowledge. They don't know that the sacrifices made today will benefit you in the future, and they need someone that's in a parent or someone that's that's more their senior to say, "Look, I made shitty decisions in my past, and it got me in where I'm in, and it was a pain in the ass to recover." Now, if you would sacrifice now to set yourself for future success, so you can take advantage of these opportunities that I couldn't do because I made bad decisions in the past, that's inspiration, because I just gave them the tools was explaining to them my experience. I made these awful decisions when I was young, and
Kind
it
of funny
cost me
because
big time. And it took me years of clawing out. Now you have the opportunity. I'm putting the ball in your court. You have the opportunity to take the sacrifice today so you can take future better opportunities. And I explained, if you do this, you're going to win at life.
yeah, and in a way,
That's how you be inspirational. That's how
it's
you
kind of
motivate people. I didn't tell them what to do. I gave them a choice. That's the whole
yes.
thing. It's all about delivery.
They can own it then as well. It's because it's their
Yes.
choice they got to make. It's kind of funny as well. Maybe they're kind of punching themselves in the dick here, but for people who want to kind of shortcut life,
Yeah.
you would think they would actually want to listen to their elders and listen to their kind of the regrets the elders made, because then because that is kind of like shortcutting. That's like saving them the donkey work of finding out for yourself kind of thing.
Well, the
But
thing comes down to this, that you're not forgetting. What are the 7 deadly sins? The purpose of the 7 deadly sins is getting you off the right path. So your ego got in the way, your pride got in the way, your lust got in the way of your dreams. Okay. So all this shit that you're supposed to be doing correctly, what's basically, what's the core reason? This is why the self-actualization is so important. Why do you keep making these dumb decisions? It might be you're hot-headed. It might be your ego got in the way. It might be your pride got in the way. It might be that you're ashamed of asking for help.
yeah, so
recognizing that you have these issues is the eureka moment that can fix your life.
So not to undermine this entire stream, but in a way, could we say that the biggest obstacle to a person wanting to change or develop or grow in all this is themselves? They are their own worst. They are in their own way.
Yes. The biggest hurdle to your growth is yourself. You have the power to make positive and negative change in your life. We don't live in a culture where, especially in America, there's no excuse in America. There is no person in America that's telling you by government force that you cannot be what you want to be. We don't live in Russia, where if you do not listen to us, you're going to jail, okay, or you're going to some horrific concentration camp or anything like that. That doesn't exist in America, okay? So you can't use that excuse. The only excuse you have for not being the best potential person that you can be is yourself. Now, that's horrifying and liberating at the same time. It's horrifying because it's all on you. You have the choices to make life better. It's inspiring because you know you have the power to make that change. Is it going to be easy? No. But nothing in life that's worthwhile is easy.
That's great stuff. I think we're going to end it on that. What you just said there is very inspirational, and we've ran over time. So is there any closing thoughts you have or comments you would like to make?
To stay on topic, the only thing I would say is, if you want to inspire change in yourself or in others, be the best damn human and best damn example of what a good decision maker is, and do it. If you feel like your values are hope and inspiration, be hope and inspirational. If you feel like the best thing you could do to society is raise the best damn kids in life, that is your goal. Raise the best damn kids in your life and let them be the tools of how to be a good person. If you think that, okay, I might not be able to have kids, or do I want kids, but I want to be the best human being, then I need to give back more to show people of my potential. So it's all about, what are you trying to accomplish? And if you're trying to be a good person and trying to be the best thing, be that best person. Don't make that change today. Don't put it off. Work on it today and do incremental change. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to do better today than I'm going to be yesterday. I'm going to be 1% better today than I was yesterday. I'm going to lose 1 more pound today than I did yesterday. I'm going to eat 1 more salad over a Big Mac today. It's those little tiny changes that over a decade get amplified and change your life. It's not the big, no one's going to ever do big changes and it's going to be successful. It's all about making little changes.
Right on. Give him a mic drop there. That's fantastic and great advice, and something for everyone to think about, I think, as well going forward. There's nothing holding you back. You all got the potential and the power. It's all in your hands. It's all up to you, really, isn't it? And got no excuse. And reality doesn't really care to hear what your excuses may be. So not to say that you've got no one to blame but yourself, but I think you get the point, right? And so can we all thank Bandit for being here? And Bandit, would you be able to come back for another stream and we can continue this topic?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we started off, there were 3 main points. When I talked to you backstage in email, there were 3 main points that I wanted to sort of cover, and this whole stream has just been dedicated to the first point.
Yep.
Really. So I think we can maybe dedicate the next stream, if you're willing, to the second point, and then we can have like a trifecta, a 3-part series on just covering this area of change.
Yeah.
And,
no problem with me. You schedule the time and I'll be there.
Fantastic. So thank you for your time, Bandit. It's been an honor, sir, talking to you. I think it's been a great help. Thank you to everyone that's been here watching. And we're going to close out. So we'll try for next week. Is that cool with you, Bandit?
Yep.
Oh,
that works
great.
perfect. Okay. So we'll talk about it next time. And to everybody, have a great 420.
Fantastic. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.